my local radio show. Thanks for joining in on both the radio and on video. And it's a beautiful day. It's a nice Thursday in the Calumet region. I hope you're enjoying your morning. We don't get a lot of mornings like this. It's just kind of pristine and perfect, and everything's so lush right now with the amount of immense rain we've had in April and May, and it's been cool and just everything. I was, I was gonna say I was blowing the lawn last night, but I mean that I was using the air blower to just blow off all those little white leaves on there, and just walked around it last night. Later, kind of near sunset, just to break the peace of the neighborhood. And I noticed I'm like walking over the lawn. I'm like, man, I don't think my lawn has ever been this full of grass. And it just feels so cool and it's so green. And then it's nice and clean because everything's been raining for so long. So just beautiful out. Take a big deep breath. You don't get too many like this. And then later on, it's going to get hotter than as it gets up to 83 degrees here, right here at the Vac and Strand Hill Studios. It gets down into the 50s, so we have perfect sleeping weather to open the windows at night, and then it gets nice and hot during the day, and then it's almost like desert weather. And then tomorrow, a high of 87, sunshine and very warm. And then let's see, tomorrow's Friday, so by Saturday, an afternoon thunderstorm, a high of 87, maybe a little bit of a thunderstorm on Sunday, just kind of rolling through, and a high of 89. Then by Monday, some sun, not as warm, high in the upper 70s. So really not a bad 5-day forecast for the weekend. One of the better ones we've had in years. Somebody said, who was telling me? Oh, I'm working on. Dr. Lauren Brown. He's like, I'm like, Doc, why do you work on? Why do you work some? He goes, I used to work on Memorial Day. Sometimes I still do, and I'm like, well, why? He goes, you ever have a Memorial Day when it didn't rain? Because it's always crappy on Memorial Day. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. How many times do you schedule something? I mean, I even remember playing like high school baseball sectionals scheduled for Memorial Day. I want to say they used to start on Memorial Day. Do they still start on Memorial Days, high school baseball sectionals? No, sectionals were last night. That's right. So Highland won, didn't they? Did Highland wind up winning last night in sectionals? They did, huh? Yeah, they were down. All right. Well, it used to be that sectional started on Memorial Day, and it was always raining. And I just remember, all right, Memorial Day, games rained out. Oh, we'll play tomorrow. Oh, it was rained out again. So Dak Brown once in a while just gets it, and that's just kind of odd because he's not always right. And weather is brought to you by Laborers Local 41. Let's take a look at what's going on in traffic. 294 around the city looks pretty good. 80 going east and west looks good. Bishop Ford is good. 394 has something right near US 30 coming northbound. It shouldn't be too much of a backup, but it is an accident northbound on 394. What is that? It's not Linwood. That's not Stager. I don't know what that is right there. It's got to be Sauk Village, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, northbound on 394 by US 30, there's an accident. But on the Bishop Ford itself, it moves pretty well to just a little bit past the steel bridge, and then it's kind of tight through the merge. It's not too bad on the inbound lanes up until about, let's say, Garfield or 55th. And then right around then, you have level 1 hazmat for the accident involving a truck that's leaking fuel. Also, there is a pole down right there going inbound, and I'm surprised it's not backing things up worse. So the Bishop Ford already at the merge starting to get tight, and then it doesn't matter if you take the Skyway or the Bishop Ford, you're going to run into this thing at about 50th Street, and I don't know what it is. Anybody has anything on that, text me to 219-845-1100 or call. Skyway Toll Road look good. Borman I-65 are all moving along pretty well. Got all sorts of construction all over the Calumet region, but I'm not going to go through that right now. I'm going to eat a piece of an apple and talk to you about the markets The markets are where this morning? Why don't you guys just talk amongst yourself while I chew and look it up? But the Dow is down 10, really kind of staying right below 25,000. Let's see if they bust over there. Maybe the high gas prices will help the whole thing out, huh? You know, I just realized that pineapple doesn't go down as easy as orange does, so I do apologize right now. Excuse me. I'll take a short moment to chew. There you go. Happy birthday to Tommy Chong. All right, what do you have in terms of what's happening here locally? According to the Trost Pibune, there are two sides to former Calumet Township trustee Mary Elgin, Judge Joseph Van Bachlen said. She was elected to an office designated to serve the most needy in the community, but she used her role to serve her own self-interests to stay in power. Elgin, who was 73, was sentenced Wednesday in Hammond's federal court to a year and a day in prison, followed by 1 year of supervised release in her public corruption case. She pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and 1 count of failure to file a tax return. She must pay $15,000 in restitution to the trustee's office and $6,300 to the IRS. She was to report to prison in August. I sincerely apologize for my actions, she said as she sat in a wheelchair. Her attorney, Kevin Milner, requested that she be placed in the nearest medical facility as she has ongoing medical issues, including recovering from recent back surgery. She was named in a multi-count indictment in December, along with her son, Steve Hunter, who is head of the township's Information Systems Technology Department. Now, Ethel Shelton, 72, and Elgin secretary, and Alex Wheeler, supervisor of the town's job search works. They were accused of using township employees and offices to run political campaigns and raise money for Elgin's fundraisers. Okay. Elgin and her son opted for plea deals. Last month, a jury convicted Shelton on 2 counts, conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit honest services wire fraud. Wheeler was found not guilty on the same counts. So sentencing has not been scheduled for Shelton as attorneys continue to file arguments on a motion for a mistrial. So there you go. Von Bachlen said he read letters submitted on Elgin's behalf, including from State Rep Vernon Smith. The region is better because she cares and she served. The bottom line, she is totally committed to service, Smith's letter said. And for Elgin has never been in trouble, ever, before this case, Milner said. For 30 years, she had an unblemished record as a union secretary at Inland Steel and EC. While she takes responsibility for the crime, she also did do quite a bit of good during her tenure as trustee from 03 to 14. I made a huge mistake, and I stand here asking the court for mercy. I thought she was in a wheelchair, so I guess she was sitting there asking for mercy. Milner said that what is unusual in Elgin's case compared to other public corruptions is that there was no money taken. Instead, she used her office in ways that helped her election efforts. So what does that mean? So this is one I never figured out, because the big fish here is Elgin and perhaps her son, Stephen Hunter. But the feds went after, they allowed her to plead guilty, I guess, with a plea deal, and they went after the secretary and the guy who ran the jobs works underneath her. So I don't know, is this a new tactic? You know, it's just another reason to I don't know, not work in government. You know what I mean? Not even go for an elected position. And here, the woman who's the secretary is really the only one that's kind of sitting out there to dry. Uh, what's her name? Elgin and her son Hunter, they get 1 year prison term. Our ex trustee gets 1 year prison term. I forget what Hunter gets here. I don't think it says here. All right, so she gets a 1 year prison term. The guy, Wheeler, was found not guilty in a trial. And then really the only one that's kind of hung out to dry right now is Ethel Shelton, the 73-year-old woman. Is that a victory for justice in the region? I don't know. I don't get it anymore. I mean, we have had so much corruption over so many years that it's hard to make sense of it. And where's the sense? Maybe we'll make sense of it here. Here is from U.S. Attorney Kirsch. Here's the new. It just came out this morning. Statement. Public corruption cannot and will not be tolerated at any level. Well, there's your answer. At any level. Today's sentence of imprisonment should send a strong message of deterrence. Citizens expect and deserve officials to act in the best interest of the public, free from self-dealing and illegal self-enrichment. My office, together with our law enforcement partners, will continue to pursue matters involving public corruption. I encourage anyone with information concerning corrupt public officials to contact my office or the FBI. Kirsch right there echoing a big refrain from David Kapp, the former U.S. attorney. So what do you guys think? Another politician going to jail in Lake County. That's really not a big story, to be honest with you. I mean, we got the thing, Robert Battles thing is coming up in September. He's a former elected official in East Chicago. And we've got we just had the Snyder thing out of Portage. And, of course, we just had Buncich. And it's easy to fall prey to a surplus hopelessness about our leaders here in Lake County. And in the past, I would tell you guys, and I would say, listen, guys, there's good people. It's just a few bad apples, and it's it's going to get better. But I'm not doing that anymore because I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't know as if ever in my lifetime we can look back on the last 10 years and say, you know what, we've really had a good run of people not using the public dole for their personal advancement. And it really has helped the area. It's helped us in economic development. It's helped the general morale around here. It has helped us just with our own self-image of ourselves. But I don't know if I'm ever going to see that, honestly. I don't think many of you who are older, longer in the tooth, you're probably not going to see it either. I guess it's a little bit of shift in my my personal just way of looking at things. You know what I mean? I think I've fallen prey to what many I used to kind of get, I guess, a little bit mad at, like some of the older folks around here, and my mom, and when she was alive, and she had this like really, Jimmy, it's never change around here, and just stay out of the, don't ever go try to get it. Don't ever like run for office around here or whatever, because they're all crooked. And I'm like, come on, Mom, you can't think like that. And here I am. You know what I mean? I'm not that they're all crooked. There's really good people in offices, and I agree with that. But we just have an inordinate amount of people who somehow get into office, and then they take money or they take services. Now, where does the federal prosecutor's office come into this? It started with Van Bachlen, who is now the judge on this one. Isn't that odd? And then it comes through with Kapp, and then now it's Tom Kirsch. So they're all kind of doing the same thing, which is going deeper and deeper into political corruption around here. And I just wonder what the long-term effect is. I mean, I guess I hold out hope that at some point we're going to be replenished by just a fresh crop of young people that are not tainted by the political corruption of the past. In other words, they didn't even learn how to do it or how to think it, because there's a thought, there's a general vein of doing business in Lake County that comes down from the days when Dillinger could walk openly in East Chicago in the 19 teens, about 100 years ago. And he could do it there because it was so corrupt. And it just is always we've always just kind of spun this corruption out of along the lake to other areas. And I guess I've always kind of held out hope that at some point we're just going to turn the corner. But I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. I don't know. I don't feel it. I used to do that. Come on, guys. Hey, let's go get one for the Gipper. Let's move forward as a region because that's what we do. And there's a lot of good people in office. I'm not doing that. Matter of fact, I'm not doing it at all. I'm going to eat a piece of pineapple here because I can. And I'm going to take a short break, and we're going to talk about it. I'll take your phone calls. What do you think? There goes Mary Elgin, and somehow she gets a plea deal, and her secretary goes to trial. I don't understand that. Someone needs to explain that one to me. And then someone needs to explain where the region's going to go over the next couple of decades in terms of public corruption. Is it possible that the feds come in and they just do a tetracycline on the region where they kill all the bacteria, good and bad, and then we replace it and we reintroduce bacteria into our systems? That is one way that it could play out. But there's other ways too, and we'll talk about them right after this on the voice and face of the region. Click!
Family Restaurant, located at the corner of Klein and Ridge, is Griffith's locally owned family restaurant with a down-home feel and made-from-scratch favorites you will love. Open daily from 5 a.m. to midnight, JED's has you covered with breakfast omelets, salads, stir-fry, seafood, and steak sandwiches. In addition to our award-winning lemon rice soup, 4 additional soups are served daily. Along with our recently expanded spirits menu, Mondays are half-price margaritas, and Wednesdays are $1 off domestics. Mention WJOB for 20% off your order. We'll see you at JED's at the corner of Klein and Ridge.
I want to be like the pretty people on my TV.
Now you can.
All I need are gleaming white teeth.
We can help you.
Can you find the right dentist for me?
Dr. Andy Coulteritis, he does cosmetic dental.
Will he hurt me?
No, he's gentle.
I'm terrified of pain.
He's the kindest in the land.
He sounds great. Could you repeat his name?
Dr. Andy Coulteritis, 219-836-1111.
Thanks.
St. Catherine Hospital is celebrating 90 years of dedication to advanced technology, patient satisfaction, and quality care in Northwest Indiana. Join us on Tuesday, June 19th from 2 to 6 p.m. for our anniversary celebration. Tour our new South Lobby and outpatient pharmacy. See our Da Vinci surgical robot, free screenings, take a journey through the history, and get a glimpse into our future. St. Catherine Hospital has been working for a healthier you for over 9 decades. Don't miss this 90-year celebration on Tuesday, June 19th at 4321 First Street in East Chicago. To register, call 219-836-3477.
What are the new sales at Vac and Strand Tills? I wonder what's going on. Hey, thanks for beeping. Why are you so late today? What's going on at Strachan Van Tills? Da la 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 la.
From the Strachan Van Til Studios, your local Strachan Van Til has some great products on sale this week. Here's a few items you might want to add to your shopping list. Made fresh in store, our own fresh dinner sausage. Over 30 varieties, $2.99 a pound. Fresh Southern sweet corn, buy 6, get 6 free, limit 2 offers. Hass avocados or sweet mangoes, 4 for $3. Strachan Van Til, proud to be Indiana made and dedicated to being Indiana's grocery store.
Will Hatzel. Will, I want you to remember this day, okay? Because there's a woman whom I don't remember, who is the lead producer on NBC Nightly News for Lester Holt. And she interned here and no doubt handed either me or some other host their tea one day. And now she has a whole slew of people that will hand Lester Holt his tea. So this is a day where you're like, all right, I had to get the guy his tea. I mean, it was a little bit demeaning and stuff, but it's part of the game. And I'm trying to teach you something here. You don't realize that, do you? Okay? There's a reason that a lot of people that have worked for me in 2 different industries leapfrog me and go and get great jobs because they've been demeaned and then they're just pissed. And then you want to go on and be really successful, okay? Thank you. There it is. It's the method of interning. Why he doesn't really, he doesn't really give me any attention and he kind of snaps at me a little bit. That's the way it is, kid. Ask Kirk the Minnow Smith out of Griffith, or even ask Mad Mac. He worked on the floor. I don't want to talk about it. We're talking about political corruption. Now I got to do the Jamal Washington story and the Robert Battle story all in one day. Hip, hip, hooray. All right, let's take a look at what's going on in the traffic, huh? 294 around the city looks pretty good. 80 going east and west looks good. Bishop Ford's clumpy and stop and go-ish from Dalton Avenue all the way up through the southern end of the Randian. So I'm sorry about that. If you're coming up to Bishop Ford right now and you're like, Jed, why'd you just say that? All right, here's what you need to do. Open your window, okay? And take in, let's see, if you're going northbound on the Bishop Ford right now, open your right window, which would be the one that faces east, and just look out at this beautiful sunrise. There's not a cloud in the sky. There's a little minor amount of haze, so you can almost like look toward the east, and the sun it's not a yellow ball like it is at sunset. It's kind of a little bit dispersed, almost into a silver guiding light. And let it come into your soul as you sit there in traffic and watch the woman next to you curl her eyelashes, and the guy in front of you could just see his head going back and forth because he's swearing so much. And then you look over to the left at the semi-truck driver who just looks dazed from driving over the plains all night long. I mean, it could be worse. It could be cloudy and rainy, and it's not right now. But anyways, if you're on the Bishop Ford, don't go that way right now if you can avoid it. Skyway and the toll road look good. The Borman looks good on I-65. It's just a heavy day coming up the gut of the Southland. In traffic brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. Let's take a look on the weather. I got to tell you what, I'd love to be able to give you this weather forecast every day for a whole year. And that would be a high in the 80s for the next 5 days. Today it gets up to 83 with plenty of sunshine. Tomorrow, high of 87, sunshine very warm. And then Saturday, an afternoon shower or thunderstorm and a high of 87. And then by Sunday, sunshine remaining very warm and a high of 89. By Monday, you got a high of 80. So a lot of sunshine, maybe one thunderstorm going forward. And then it gets into the 50s and low 60s every night, so you can actually open the windows okay. You know, I got to tell you that that is brought to you, the weather this morning is brought to you by our good friends at Laborers 41, of which I am a proud alum of that fine union. And thanks to all the union construction trades who are all out building stuff right now. And we very much appreciate them supporting the local radio and streaming media, streaming video station. Now, I got to tell you, yesterday, I think after 20 years, I think I bought this weed whacker in 1998 at my old place in Griffith. And that was on Lafayette Street by St. Mary's. I bought a Husqvarna beautiful weed whacker. And I now have 2 of them. I got one over at the station we used to weed whack the weeds there once in a while. And I think it died. Because you ever drive by the guy in his driveway and he's pulling on a chain to start his lawnmower or whatever it is, his small appliance, and he's pulling on it and he's pulling on it. And here I am wearing this I'm trying to figure out. People are asking me, "What's wrong with your wrist?" And I'm like, I can't figure out what was wrong with my wrist. And then I realized that all spring I've been having a lot of trouble starting this weed whacker, and I'm trying to start it with this little clamp on my wrist I'm wearing right now. And I realized that was the problem, is that I have a really old weed whacker that would not start last night. I was pulling on it, I'm pulling on it, and then it's real quiet, and you drive by, and then all you just see the guy just kind of almost throw the little engine down, and just let go of just a superb litany of F bombs and B bombs and C bombs and all sorts of stuff, because you're just so pissed. I mean, I one time the neighbor down the street, he was out trying to get his leaf blower going, and he was pulling on it, he's pulling on it, pulling on it. Never heard the guy say a cross word in his life. And finally, it's all quiet, and he just lets it go. He goes, blah, 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 nya, nya, nya. And I was like, whoa, sorry about that, but I know where you've been. So I was there yesterday trying to start the weed whacker for a good 45 minutes. My shoulders hurting, but I realized why my wrist hurts. So my daughter comes home, and she's like, Dad, what are you doing? Don't ask me. I'm starting to start the weed whacker. And she's like, Dad, how about a new weed whacker for Father's Day? And you know what? I've been in a good mood ever since that. You know what I mean? Is it Tommy Chong? Jed's not home. You guys are pretty funny. Way to go, Will. Anyways, I've been in a good mood ever since she said that. It was like this big pressure. Oh man, I got to go fight with the weed whacker. And she's Dad, and she looks it up. She's like, Dad, some of these are like got little minor electric starters on them, and maybe we could avoid this this problem that you're having with your weed whacker. It's messed up your wrist. You're out here on a beautiful evening, just pulling on this thing and pulling on it and messing. I dumped the gas out. I put new gas in it. I pulled out the filter, pulled out the air filter. I rewound the pull cord. I mean, I was. Anyways. Let's take a phone call or two. Carpenter's Local 599 phone line. Hey, Mad Mac, would you like to come by and start my weed whacker? All right, I'm done with you. Okay, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next one. Hey, how you doing, Dave? What's up?
Good morning, Jed. Well, I have to tell you, you bought the top of the line in its day, and it still is. Husqvarna is. You spent a few bucks on that, didn't you?
I did back in the day, and that was, I mean, not that I got a
Look
ton.
Look how long it's lasted, though. The only thing you could do with a two-stroke is change the plug. And if that doesn't work, sometimes the fuel line gets gummed up because it's, you're mixing oil and gas together. But I would have to say 30 years of service, you should be really happy with 30 years because a weed whacker takes a lot of abuse.
And I'm a weed whacking fool. I took it over to this guy last year because I was having a similar problem. I mean, it's just old. And I took it to this guy over here on Indianapolis Boulevard, just south.
I take my stuff there, too. I take my chainsaws there.
Yeah, right by the downstairs, they fixed lawnmowers and weed whackers, and then upstairs you can learn how to do judo and stuff like that.
There's the dojo, yeah, and he's in the back, absolutely.
Yeah, and he serviced it last year, and even he was like, well, how old is this thing? And I'm like, don't. It's just because it's old.
Mm-hmm.
What was the line? It was old, but it's good. I think that's a Neil Young song about like weed. It was old, but it was good. But
I thought I would
talk
about something else.
Yeah, let's talk about something else. I don't know how we got on that again, but the idea that you got to just change it in and get a new one. I never even occurred to me till my daughter said that. I'm like, oh my God, a new weed whacker. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm looking forward to this. All right, go ahead. What's going on?
No, I wish Gladys would be in here today, considering what happened Washington time, 10 o'clock last night. This alleged gang of 8 these names that they come up with are just hilarious, first of all. Spygate. I think Donald Trump is a little angry that he didn't think of it and he's probably going to copyright it. So that's the kind of stuff that he does, being a self-promoter. But I would like Gladys's point view from a legal view on what is going to happen today and tomorrow. I mean, being a layman and not having the luxury of having a judge in my household the way you do, it just sounds like to me. Let's say we're just use the poker analogy. It would be, Jed, you're playing poker with 4 of your friends, and they get to hold their cards, but you have to lay yours down and show everyone your cards. That's just the kind of, they want to, all these, from the Senate and the House, they all, they all want to meet, and then they all want to disclose what's in their case. And to a certain extent, you would probably explain to me what has to, with disclosure, what has to be disclosed and what doesn't. But this just doesn't sound, it sounds odd and just odd to me. That
okay, let me read what he's talking about. All right, hold on. The Trump administration will now brief a bipartisan group of lawmakers in addition to 2 key House Republicans on a confidential intelligence source in the Russian investigation, after initially scheduling a briefing only for the pair of GOP congressmen. The Justice Department announced late last night that it will hold back-to-back meetings on Thursday, one for House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes and Oversight Chair Trey Gowdy, and another immediately after for the bipartisan Gang of 8 and Gowdy. And the Gang of 8 consists of top Republican and Democrat members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committee.
Well, Trey Gowdy has to have a meeting all by himself because he doesn't have the top security clearance that everyone else has. So it's like a separate meeting just for Trey Gowdy.
I like that guy. I don't know why. It just seems, Devin Nunes, he just looks like a stroke. But Trey
Gowdy's intense.
Yeah,
like him or not, he's 100% conservative, but the dude's intense, and he lives his convictions. I mean, you got to give him a pat on the back for that.
Yeah.
I don't see things the way he has, but I do respect his intenseness and how he lives his convictions. He walks the walk and he talks the talk.
Remember that time Nunes went and got some specific leaked information or something, and he ran over to the White House and told them about it? And then it turns out that it was the White House that had put it out. It was like, come on, you're a stroke, man. Get out of here.
Yeah, if I was the king of the castle and living on Pennsylvania Avenue there, first thing I would do is tell Rudy Giuliani, dude, go on vacation. Go, just shut your mouth, because he's contradicting everything that's coming out of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. He's contradicting everything she says, and she's contradicting everything he says. It doesn't seem like they're all on the same page. And Rudy said he hasn't talked to Trump in weeks. He says his staffers has, but he hasn't personally talked to in weeks. That's, it's one of those things that's going to come out. Whitewater was 3 years. They investigated Oliver North for 7 years. And I don't know, the taxpayers understand. This is costing us millions and millions of dollars. These guys don't work for free. And the taxpayers are paying for all this stuff.
The national circus continues. Thank you, David.
Cue the music. Cue the clown music.
I don't have to. I can just go dun 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 dun. Mad Mac, how are you now?
What up, bro?
You tell me.
Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you good, but I'm having a little phone difficulty. How do I make my screen stop rotating on me, Jimmy?
There is a setting. Do you have an iPhone or do you have an Android?
I got an Android.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. I know how to do it on an iPhone. You can go in there, and the setting is it's like screen still or something like that.
Yeah,
so
something like that. I don't know.
So go ahead. What's up? What do you think? I know you're going to talk about Mary Elgin.
No, why? They're all doing a great job. I mean, when one other township spends $1 and for us to supply the equivalent goods and services we spend 28. What's the big deal, right? I'm going to go visit her in prison, though, and wave high. Say, hey, you think could you just not steal everything that wasn't attached to that wasn't tacked down?
All right. In all due respect here.
But that's not possible.
Listen, she didn't steal anything.
She stole our time, of which she was being paid for self-interest.
She did not steal any cash, as far as I understand it. She stole resources from the Calumet Township office.
Yeah, and who paid for that?
Exactly. That is exactly
like I
it.
said,
But she did not.
She stole from the taxpayer.
Well, she stole from the taxpayer, but I think the general idea is if you steal something, you're stealing some sort of money. So it says here, Milner said that his case is unusual in that there was no money taken. Instead, she used her office in ways that helped her election efforts. So I don't know. I guess it's just the semantics.
Just like Van Til.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I guess she did. She didn't steal money. She stole resources. Just to be clear.
Right. She stole from the taxpayers, just like they all do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nothing. No secret about that. No secret about that at all. Hey, did you read those 2 articles I emailed or texted over to you about the spy in the Trump camp?
I did not, but I did watch some TV and listen to Mark Levin last night. So what do you want to talk about?
You watched Mark Levin? What channel?
No, I don't watch him. I watched some. I watched Nancy Pelosi last night on CNN. Did you watch that?
Yeah, that's always she was having that minor seizure, huh? How'd she do? Okay.
She was on a one-on-one town hall with, I believe, with Mario Cuomo, and she was, you know what? She presented pretty well. I'll give her that. And she presented the Democratic argument pretty well. She took a couple tough questions, and I was, I thought she did well, and but I was, I'm driving around listening to radio also, and as Spygate idea was coming out, do you think there's something real here, Mad Mac?
If the New York Times does, there's something real there. Because for the New York Times to admit that the FBI had someone in Trump's campaign trying to buy these guys, fly them to England. Hey, come on over here. I'll fly over, write a report for us. And tell me every day, and what about this stuff? And what about that stuff? Like I told you, Jimmy, when they announced this investigation over a year ago, I said, you guys are going to rue the day this started because all the dirt's going to come, and it's coming. Like I said, it's going to land right at the White House with that big-eared Obama. I'm going to laugh my head off, man. Because your boy and Valerie
you
Jarrett,
can't do that. You know that. It's just so demeaning to
trouble,
do that.
brother.
Your boy. Why do you got to do that? I mean, you were going on a nice litany. You had a nice opinion, and then you had to
call everybody at basketball. Relax.
Your boy. I mean, come on, and you know what you're doing by saying that.
Oh, wow. What am no. I do it to basketball players. That's what we do all the time. Hey, that's your boy. Get your boy.
Okay.
Talk to Ryan. Hey, get your boy.
Hey,
everybody.
One of these days, one of these days, you'll own up to what you're doing. Put it that way.
Hey, listen. Here's a tip: always take the husk off the pineapple. It goes down better. Are you peeling those things?
Thanks a lot. Talk to you. Let's go to Dan from Hessville. Dan, how you been?
Hey, how you doing, Jed?
I'm doing all right. I'm having a little trouble with a weed whacker these days, but other than that, things are going okay.
Okay. Hey, you wonder where politics are going these days. I got a friend that just come back from the southern states, and she come back to Northwest Indiana. She was down there for about 5-6 years.
Why are you whispering?
She was down there for 5 or 6 years, and this guy was running for mayor, and his platform is he's trying to run for mayor, get in this little town, and he made it. He become mayor, but his platform was where all these deadbeats ain't have jobs, and people are living off the federal government and all this stuff and all this stuff and what's going on. He said he wants to become become a governor and then from maybe a president in 25, 30 years from now. We ran on this platform where if he gets in there, he wants to start taking people, these deadbeat people that don't want to work, don't want to contribute nothing, and have a program called assisted suicide, where the government will help them commit suicide for them because they have no no contributing to the society and all that. I heard this. She told me about this. I go, you got to be kidding. And he made it as a mirror, some southern state, some little town. And I guess all these poor states, southern states are poor, but all the people are Republicans and these governors and all that. I don't understand.
All right. Hey, thank you. Dan. I'm going to comment on that. Thanks.
All right, bye.
What Dan's talking about, Kurt Vonnegut already predicted. It's called Welcome to the Monkey House. And there were so many people in the world that you could go to like this assisted suicide house, and there would be a beautiful woman in fishnet stockings and nothing else. She'd take you into a room and be real nice to you, and then she would slowly put you to death. But Billy the poet came along, and he didn't think that was right because everybody basically had been numbed from the waist down. So Billy the poet went around deflowering the assisted suicide women and kind of breaking up the whole plan. Wow, I don't know what to do with that. We have Will Hatzel with some sports. What do you got, Will? Oh, well, there you go. I got you on there. Go ahead.
All right, well, these sports updates are brought to you by Johnny's Tap. In baseball, in the Chesterton sectional, Chesterton demolished Maryville 17-0. In Game 2, Hobart edged Crown Point 1-0. Kankakee Valley in the Kankakee Valley sectional, Andrean easily took down Kankakee Valley 15-1. In Game 2, Wheeler beat Hanover Central 11-5. In the Munster sectional, Highland squeezed past Lowell 6-5. In Game 2, Munster crushed East Chicago 14-0. In the Griffith sectional, Clark beat Gavitt 1-0. In Game 2 of that sectional, Hammond rolled over Calumet 16-5. In the Whiting sectional, Bishop Knoll shut out River Forest 16-0. And in Game 2, Roosevelt beat Lake Station 10-6. In softball, in the Maryville sectional, Chesterton beat Portage 9-2. In Game 2, Valpo shut out Michigan City 15-0. In the Whiting sectional, Whiting beat Lake Station 11-1. And in Game 2, Andrean edged Bishop Knoll 6-4. And be sure to tune into our Facebook Live tonight to watch the Kankakee Valley Lake Central semifinal game tonight at 6:30. And then in girls tennis, Munster won the regional title after dropping Crown Point 5-0. And the pro sports, the Cubs lost to the Indians again, this time 1-0. The White Sox beat the Orioles 11-1. And their catcher, Wellington Castillo, was suspended 80 games due to PEDs. In the NBA, the Celtics defeated the Cavaliers 96-83 to go up 3-2 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And in the NHL, the Capitals beat the Lightning 4-0 to advance to the Stanley Cup Final. You can tune into that game here Monday night at 7 p.m., and the Golden Knights will have a home ice advantage to start the series.
Who's on the call tonight from Crown Point?
That will be Sam and I.
Is it your first time you're doing a game?
Yes.
Did you do any games at Ball State?
I didn't do like play-by-play or color. I was the guy that did all the tech stuff and was able to give the scores, so just a minor role with that, but I've been involved in some way, I guess.
So we're going to see the Will Hatzel debut in the broadcast booth today?
Yes. We'll see how that goes.
Well, as Joe Madden would say, no, I better not. Don't mess up, okay?
Yeah, try not to suck, right? Don't suck.
There you go. Yeah, try not to suck. So, you know, the one thing that I can tell you about doing color with Sam Michael is you're not going to do a lot of talking anyways. So you'll be okay.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of his broadcasts. I even took a peek on the Facebook page just to see how he is. And, yeah, he's very good at that. Impressive. So he might make it easy for me.
The other thing is it should be a relatively short game. Lowell and KV and Lake Central. KV has Emma
Maple. Yeah, very, very good.
And then Lake Central has the pitcher
Alexa Penarski.
And they're not going to get a lot of hits.
No, yeah.
They're just not going to get a lot of hits. I mean, if there's an error, or there's a couple of walks or something like that. but just it's kind of hard to hit the ball just hard against them on a regular basis. Although Munster wound up getting some decent hits against Deja got a hit, and what's the other gal got some pretty good hits for Munster against Emma Maple. But on the whole, it's very hard to get regular hits off of her, and I could just see a 3-1 game or something like that, or 2-1, maybe even 1-0.
Yeah, last time these teams played, which was actually like a week ago, it was a 12-11 game.
Okay, there you go. Well, there goes my theory.
Yeah, well, I mean, I bet it won't be the same because, the pitchers are very good. So
I'm going to send them out there today, and they're going to do the game. Anybody wants to sponsor it, throw a couple $100 at it. That way I'll give them a little extra. If not, they'll just get their average little bitty pay to go out and do the games. Anybody wants to be the main sponsor, they'll talk about you up the wazoo tonight for the KV versus Lake Central softball game. We've had a number of people that have requested us to get out there, and I just wish one of them would have been a business that said, I'll pay for it. But just a couple $100 each by two people helps me just help those guys out. If not, still going to do the game. It's going to be on Facebook Live. All right, guys. Hey, Tom Largus is up next.
Eduardo's Natural Pizza in Munster has built a reputation for serving the finest Chicago-style stuffed pizza, loaded with fresh and natural ingredients. Not interested in stuffed pizza? Eduardo's has the thin crust pizza, appetizers, salads, pastas, and more. Pick up a half-baked pizza from Eduardo's to take home and bake at your convenience. It's the perfect solution for those hectic nights. Eduardo's is located at 7920 Calumet Avenue in Munster. Dine in or carry out by calling 836-2010.
Ogren Insurance has been serving the area since 1947 and provides insurance for life, home, auto, business, and more. If you're looking for one-on-one service, the best rate, knowledge, and experience, Ogren Insurance is your agency. Our number one goal is to provide you with the coverage you need at the most competitive price. To learn about the insurance solutions and services we offer in Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-33-0076 or see our website, ogreninsurance.com. Ogren Insurance, 6929 Holman Avenue in Hammond. Accidents happen. Be protected with Ogren Insurance.
It's that time of the year. Graduation, showers, retirement, and birthdays. Catering by Steve's in Hegewisch is a full-service catering company and caters for all occasions. We can deliver to your party, or you can enjoy our delicious food in our banquet rooms. Also, every Friday we have our fish fry from 4 to 8 p.m. and all-you-can-eat fish and chips the first Friday of every month. Look at all we have to offer at cateringbysteve.com, or you can call 773-646-1071. Steve's is located at 13200 South Baltimore in Hegewisch and has been serving the Calumet region since 1958.
You know the great thing about Indiana weather? You never have to wait long for it to change. All 4 seasons on any given day. So when it's calm, sign up for power outage text alerts from NIPSCO. And the next time Mother Nature is in a mood, we'll send you a notification if your power goes out, along with an estimated time you can expect it back on. Just go to nipsco.com/alerts. We'll keep you covered out there.
It is storm season, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel like it right now. It is a gorgeous day. I don't know about you guys. First of all, probably getting a new weed whacker for Father's Day, and it's beautiful out. Plenty of sunshine, a high of 83. Right now it's 54 degrees at Labor's Local 41 in Munster, at Local 599 out at the IKORCC Center along I-65, the beautiful new training center there. It's 56 degrees, and it's going to start getting warmer in a hurry, and then by about 3 in the afternoon, it's going to be downright muggy and just kind of sticky. You still have some humidity hanging around. So what time is the sunset? It just seems like it's been getting pretty late, and the sun's been coming up pretty early. Sunset today is 8:11, so you have a nice long evening. Tomorrow, sunshine, very warm, and a high of 87. And then Saturday, a high of 87, and then Sunday, a high of 89. And it's just some beautiful weather coming our way. Maybe a little bit of a thunderstorm on Saturday, but other than that, hey, tonight we're going to do the KVLC game and the softball, and we got to pay the IHSA a significant amount So if you guys, anybody out there wants to be a sponsor on that, call Ryan at 844-1230 or just email him at ryan@wjob1230.com. We didn't, we didn't put together a real package to do the girls softball sectionals like we did the basketball sectionals and so forth. And you know what? That'll change next year because this is just some amazing softball. Tonight, KVLC, and then ultimately the winner of that will get Crown Point. Probably going to be an LCCP game, which we'll probably do that one also. And you can watch it on your phones. People were texting me last night about why we didn't do the Highland and Lowell baseball game. And it's just, it's kind of harder to do a game and whatever. We're just not quite there. Next year, that should change. All right, what do you have in terms of the traffic? Traffic's brought to you by Napleton River Oaks Honda, proudly serving Northwest Indiana with superior customer service. 294, a little bit heavy but moving going into the Stevenson. 80 going east and west looks good. And the Bishop Ford's been a problem all morning long from before Dalton Avenue all the way into the southern end of the Dan Ryan. You have stop and go through the flatlands there, the industrial flatlands. Sorry about that if you're doing that. And but once you get to the Dan Ryan, it's moving better than normal. And even when you get to Jane Byrne, it's better than normal. It's just early on the Bishop Ford. The Skyway and the toll road, the Borman I-65, those are all moving along pretty well. And in terms of the markets right now, they're down 40 on the Dow and about 3 on the S&P. And Ryan wanted me to tell you that this segment is brought to you by RushRadioSurgery.com. If you have need a second opinion from a local doctor, they're there to give that to you. Just check them out at RushRadioSurgery.com. And then don't forget also that Calumet Avenue between Sibley and Michigan Street is closed until is closed. So just leave it there. Tom Largus, how are you, buddy?
Good, Jim. How are you doing today?
Got a nice deep radio voice, man. Look at that. This is natural. I don't have to do too much equalizing on what you got going there.
Thanks a lot for having me on. I certainly appreciate being here. I have to kind of laugh. I started to mention yesterday I was looking through some old information on Munster football, and I came across the 1980 press guide that announced Leroy Marsh's first year as a head coach at Munster. The picture on the cover actually had a guy with brown wavy hair. I'm not sure I recognized it. And in the pamphlet, it had an article about the games the previous year, and one of the articles talked about a Jim Dietelo intercepting some passes against Highland to win a game.
Hey, a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes the ball just hits you, and you either catch it or it bounces off.
You know what? You know what it is?
I found that kind of funny.
You're out of position, and then you're out of position, so the quarterback doesn't expect you to be there, and you're there, and they hit you in the chest, and you win the game.
And you're the hero.
There you go. Way to go. The Battle of the Bridge.
Yeah, I meant to bring it with me, and unfortunately I left it sitting on my desk, but I found that kind of funny.
You know, I have never seen that, and a couple of people mentioned that there's a picture on the front, and that I was in it, and some other people were in it, and I've never seen it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's some of the old information that we've come across over the years as we're trying to put some things together, and we're going back through a lot of different books and boxes and things like this, and I just happened to come across that. Partially, one of the reasons I looked at it too, it was something that was one of the first years I started out at the printing company, and we actually printed the piece. So I was kind of looking at it and looking at, man, what a terrible job of printing. But that was a more of a aspect of the technology in the 80s as compared to today. It was a lot of fun to look at.
Tom Largus has had a printing business for how long?
My dad actually opened up a small instant print shop in 1977 on Ridge Road in Munster, there next to Shoop's. I got involved in the spring of 1980. Took over a few years later, and I've been running it ever since. So, and we're out in the industrial park now. We built out there in the late 80s.
What kind of printing?
Commercial printing. We do everything from business cards, forms, letterheads, all the way to large mailings, brochures, and we also do a lot of large format work as far as signage and branding. And as a matter of fact, we did a lot of branding work here at Purdue Northwest and several of the other larger companies here in the area. So we've been fortunate enough to keep things moving.
Last month, surprise. I don't know if it was a phone call from Mike Wells or I don't know how it came in, but I had a bunch of stuff planned for the day. And Wells basically said, you better turn that around because we have a big announcement and you need to get over here. I'm like, all right, this is, they don't, I know Wells and I know Trippenfeldis over there in Munster. I'm like, if they want me to come over, there's an announcement regarding longtime Munster head football coach Leroy Marsh. And I'm like, all right, let's get over there. Jimmy, get the stuff. I can't believe it, but I can't see any other announcement than Leroy Marsh is going to announce his retirement. And ultimately, a bunch of media and we all got into the same room there in Munster's administration, and they made the announcement. Somebody, Leroy's going to retire after 38
years as head coach, 45 years in the program.
And you guys could see that interview because it was kind of weird for me in that all the media know that I played for Leroy when he was the defensive coordinator under John Friend. And then they're like, all right, let's start the press conference. And everybody looks around and nobody knows what to do. And they're looking at me to kind of like, hey, do something here, Jed. And I'm like, all right, well, I will. And I interviewed Leroy Marsh, kind of a tough interview. And you guys can watch that press conference. I think I only did about 12 minutes of it, or maybe went about a half hour or so. But Leroy Marsh, in a surprise move, announced his retirement after 38 years as the head football coach at Munster. He was 7 years through the 70s, where he was the defensive. I think he maybe started as special teams coach or something like that, but he quickly became John Friend's defensive coordinator, and they had a lot of success, and so did Leroy after 38 years. But people ask me about it, and I say, well, it kind of sounded like Leroy was eating his Cheerios, and he said, you know what, Jamie, I think I'm going to retire today. I think it was a little bit longer than that, but, he just came to a time, and this is it. And bittersweet day that day, Tom Largus.
Very bittersweet day. I was a senior captain in 1973. I remember when John Friend introduced Leroy Marsh as a young kid right out of Augustana, that he was going to be coming onto the staff at a meeting we used to have at the old Munster pool. And so I knew Leroy from when I played. And, then he had a great career as a defensive coordinator, then took over as a head coach and, had a illustrious career, over 200 wins and, led the program for 38 years. I was fortunate enough, and I honestly, I don't remember what year it was, but it's pushing about 30 years right now that Leroy asked me if I could help coach, and I got involved. We were going to try it for a couple of years, and here we are 30 years later, and I've been a very blessed individual. I was coached by John Friend, and then I got to stand next to Leroy Marsh for 30 years. You can't ask for anything better than that. Leroy Marsh is everything that's right about the profession, about coaching, not only for the kids in Munster, but I think even more importantly for the coaches and anybody involved in football in Northwest Indiana. People don't realize just what all he has done for football in the region, for players, for all schools and all coaches in the region, and what an impact he has had across the state with so many of the rules and things that go on here in the state of Indiana. He's one of the most respected coaches I've ever seen. Whether you're walking into meetings down in Indianapolis for state meetings, or if you're walking at a convention across the country with the college coaches, people stop left and right to talk to him just because he's so well known and respected, and respect so much of what he's done for the game of football in Indiana and all across the region.
Talking to Tom Largus. Tom has been an assistant coach to Leroy Marsh on the sidelines there at Munster for, like he said, 30 years. There is ostensibly we're here to promo a night to commemorate the things that Leroy did. That'll be on June 15th. And we will give you some of those details. But I want to go a little deeper on this. You mentioned two names there. Munster has only had, and this is very difficult to comprehend, Munster only had 2 football coaches.
Munster in the 53, I guess it's some years now that we've been playing football at Munster High School as a program. Munster's only had 2 head football coaches, John Friend and Leroy Marsh. That is unheard of. About 3 years ago, we celebrated the 50th anniversary. They took pictures of Coach Friend and Leroy, and they are up in the Indiana Football Hall of Fame because it's a unique thing. I've had the chances, I've talked to different coaches when I've met them at different things, from Fitzgerald at Northwestern, other coaches in the Big Ten and the MAC area. They will consistently say that is basically heard of, particularly at a public school. They've never seen that type of consistency, that type of continuity in a program. And more important, the one thing that both John Friend and Leroy Marsh have always stressed is they are firm believers and firmly behind the Munster school system, and firmly believe that football is the education system, not the other way around. And for the last, to have that type of longevity at Munster, accomplish what they've accomplished is awfully unique. I had the chance to stand next to Leroy on both his 100th win and his 200th. His son played in his 100th win, and his son played in his 200th win. So it's been pretty special. It's been a long, very long run and a very wonderful run. What he and his wonderful wife, Jamie, and the Marsh family have done for the Munster school system, the town of Munster, and everything else is just unprecedented. And not sure in today's world we may ever see that again, Jim.
Why do you say that?
I think the way the demands of coaching the game, it's pretty much become a year-round thing. The summers are so involved. 20 years ago during the summer, other than some weights and some things like that, you really couldn't do anything now. Although, and Leroy was a part of this, they changed the rules very recently to get it a little bit back under control. But starting probably about 2000, it kind of got to the point the summer rules were basically there was no rules. And so it became really where the kids were doing and scrimmaging and doing things all summer long. They've reeled that back in a little bit for safety purposes, and Leroy was a big part of that with the committee downstate, and they did a wonderful job to get it kind of back under control. Kids still deserve to be kids and to do the things kids want to be able to do, but I just think the stress, the full-time commitment, and everything else, I just don't think you're going to see head football coaches particularly stay at one school, one program, committed to a program like he was, go 38 years at that location.
Yeah, there's also the political winds swirl on school boards, too, and the stability of Munster's school board over the years kind of keeps that going, too. I mean, and, you get a good coach that goes into a community and, somebody doesn't like him, his kid didn't play or whatever, and next thing you know, 2 years later, they're looking for a new coach. That never happened during John Friend's or Leroy Marsh's tenure. I want to go back to one thing that we talked about on the rules here. And, guys, I want to do this, and this is going to burst the bubble of a number of women who do the sign of the cross on a regular basis in Northam. And once in a while, I make a mistake. It has happened a couple times. I think one time I was very critical of Purdue chancellors going to China, wasting our money, and it turns out that it was one of the biggest booms to Purdue Cal back in the day. And another one is that I was at one point critical of Leroy Marsh's non-support of youth football and what he viewed as getting too many kids involved too early. And during this interview on his retirement, I asked Leroy about it, and I can tell you this, that I am 100% behind everything that he's saying, and I was wrong all the way around. And he's been a huge proponent of kind of the USA rules of football, which is, not a lot of contact basically until 8th grade. He took some heat from me on that, but he also has taken heat from others, but he's been a relentless proponent of safety in football, and especially safety at an early age. And you've heard this, and you know what I'm talking about.
I've been a part of it. I've experienced with him. I agree completely in Leroy's philosophy in that. There's a lot of things that can be done with kids at an early age to get them excited about the game, to get them very enthused about the game, but yet keep it very safe for them. I've had the opportunity to coach a tremendous number of all-state linemen in a period of time at Munster. I've had some great young men come through that allowed me to coach them, and they had great success. I'm not than one or two of them played youth football at a young age. Football is still a sport that you don't have to start playing it at a very, very young age to be very good at it. That can develop as you mature and come along, and with good coaching. I like to see kids involved at a young age. I think both from the NFL to the USA football and everything else, they're coming in and saying to a certain age there's certain things that are safer, that keep the numbers up a little bit more, the kids a little bit more excited without the physical contact from a standpoint. The game right now in many ways at the high school level is safer than it's ever. Even the way we coach at the high school level now is substantially different than it was even 8, 9, 10 years ago. Now, we've always been fortunate at Munster, and as a matter of fact, I had this conversation with somebody just yesterday. They brought up some comments about the concussion things and the things like that. And he was an ex-teacher at Munster that came in actually to take care of something for the event. And he brought it up, how much things have changed. And I quite frankly said, well, things have changed some. I said, but quite frankly, at Munster, because we've had the guidance of John Doherty for all these years, we were probably 8, 9, 10 years ahead of the concussion curve, because John's been one of the ones been leading that, not only locally but nationally. And so also some things have changed for us on how we do things, and we've minimized contact and done a lot of other things. You still are able to coach the game and coach it very well, but do it safely. But John kind of had us ahead of the curve long before anybody else was really even talking about concussion protocols.
And we're talking to Tom Largus. The event is June 5th. I'll get to the details, and if you anything to do with Munster football, you're going to want to be there. But I'm smiling just a little bit because as a young football player coming up through the ranks for John Friend and Leroy Marsh and Spangler and
Al Bugnowski,
Al Bugnowski, yes. Robertson, oh my gosh.
Mike Nixick,
yes, Mike Nixick, yes. And
Dick Hunt.
It's weird because you look at it and you're like saying, all right, I had the opportunity to play for John Friend and coach with Leroy Marsh, and they were on the sidelines when you were there, and I look back on it, and the ability to have that kind of leadership as a guide for John Friend and for Leroy, and known all of them all these years, it just makes me realize the gift that was handed there. As much as I hated it because I wasn't a very disciplined young man, and I really brushed up against John a lot, but to this day, I guess we're kind of friends, and without him being there to brush up against, I hazard to think what would have happened. You know what I mean? You got to have those kind of people in your lives sometimes.
I've been very blessed that I got to play for Coach. I came up through Coach Friend, and then I was in the business world for a period of time. Played at the University of Indianapolis in college and graduated. And then, like I said, I've been with Leroy for going on 30 years. Boy, I don't know how anybody could be any luckier to stand next to two people like that and have their impact on my life as a mentor, as a friend, as somebody to look to. I've been very blessed, and those are two very special people. And the ironic about it is, as I go through, as I've been putting this event together, and of course we had the 50th reunion several years ago. The amazing thing is, as you talk to the ex-players like myself, that'll say, boy, when I was a kid, I bumped heads with Coach Friend a lot, or I bumped heads with Coach Marsh a lot. But yet they turn around and say now, as they're older in life, they're thinking, their answers are, my goodness, how fortunate I was. I probably wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for the life lessons. Maybe 20 years ago, Coach Friend was a little upset at me about something. And he came over to my business to chit-chat with me. He called me about something, and I knew he was coming in about something else, so he came in and he talked for a few minutes. And, Jim, you remember the old office he had with the glass wall, and when you got called into that office, as I'm sure you know, when the door stepped, when you were okay. When that glass door closed, you knew you were in trouble. I was maybe 48 at the time. I'm 62 now. Coach talked to me for a little while, and then he reached back with that big paw and closed that door. And, Jim, I went from 48 to 18 in the 8 seconds that door closed. And I looked at him. I said, Coach, it's okay. And he looked at me and he said, you got it taken care of? I said, Coach, it's okay. But I later was talking to Glenn Skolnick and Bob Grand and some of the people, Jim Idem and people from that era, some of Coach's greatest teams. And I kind of laughed. I said, I was in my own building, in my own office, in my own business, and I went from 48 to 18 in 8 seconds. That door closed. I said, I felt like I was 18 sitting in that glass office again. But you're just fortunate when you have mentors like that in your life, like Coach comes in here or Leroy when we talk about different things. I've been very blessed, as has the school, town, and community.
Yeah,
Munster, rather.
It's a weird thing, and it's going into a new era. And just to be straight on that, guys, there has not been any announcement on the next coach for Munster football, and there is all sorts of scuttlebutt going around. I do want to, mention that, growing up, one of the coolest things that I thought of, I couldn't wait to get up in the morning, was to do angle tackling drills, as you well know. And basically what you would be able to do is you take two guys and you go, one's here, and you guys need to run at each other at a 90-degree angle. And one guy has to be the ball carrier and one guy has to be the tackler, and you have to get your head in front. And I couldn't wait to wake up and do that. I'd almost do it right now and just put some pads on just to do angling tackle day after day and over. Those days are long gone. Nobody does that anymore.
That drill, at least at Munster, is done. We still do the drill. It's done in a very shorter distance than what I'm sure it was back when you played.
Full speed ahead.
It's not quite done that way, but the other thing is they've come out with so many new tackling pieces of equipment. There's now tackling rings and different things that can use, so that we do a tremendous amount of tackling that teaches perfect head position, perfect form, but it's all against a moving bag and done in a situation where instead of having kids hit each other nonstop, we've eliminated a lot of that contact. That makes it much safer. But yet you can still coach the technique, the fundamentals, and all those things in a very safe manner.
Leroy Marsh, we have something on June 15th. Tell us about it.
Well, what we're trying to do is Leroy and Jamie Marsh have been such a big part of the town of Munster. In his career there, not only has he led the football program, had a huge impact on so many of the kids and the youth that have come through the program, through the school system. He's taught there his whole career. Jamie's been involved in everything that he's done, whether it be the toy drives, you go back to the floods in 07 and some of the other things where we had the entire football team out there starting on a Sunday morning and in the water, and I know you and Billy Baker have covered that many times. But we're trying to have a very special night to honor he and Jamie at the Art Center on June 15th. It starts at 6 o'clock that Friday night. The cost of the event is $50. We'll have from 6 to 7 appetizers and check-in. From 7 to 8, we're going to have a very nice buffet that they did something very comparable when we had the 50th reunion. At about 8 o'clock, we're going to have a little program. And then from about 8:30, quarter to 9 till 10 o'clock, we're just going to have a lot of visiting. We've got a lot of longtime coaches from the area that, as Leroy started out as a young coach, they all became Hall of Fame coaches. the Brad Smiths, the Elmer Brittons, the Dave Shelbournes, people like that are all coming into town for it. We're trying to we've got quite a few of the coaches in the area that have commented that they want to be there to be a part of it because Leroy's done so much to help them in their career. We're trying to get a lot of the ex-players, a lot of the parents, and a lot of people in the community that have all been affected by he and Jamie. I know you've been the recipient many times. Unfortunately, I've always been down on the field, but all I've heard is the stories about Jamie's press box and how wonderful that is and what all she does up there.
There's been some bigger press boxes built. Hobart, Crown Point has on some of the football fields. Even Lake Central has a newer one. But it's still, my guys, when we're trying to figure out what game to do, that's a big factor. Well, we'll go to Munster. It's great. It's air-conditioned, and it's heated, and there'll be donuts, and there'll be all the food, and we get treated like kings. And that's a big factor for the media. Don't minimize that.
For the media, for the board members, for the community members, the town board members and people that go in there. And Jamie's also such a big part of everything Leroy has done, supporting him and helping him, whether it be with the toy drive and all the other things. But I do have to laugh when we got our new field several years ago and they did the new press box on the other side. I've got to tell you, for about the first half season, when coaches from the other team showed up and found out they were not going to be in the main press box, they were going to be across the field, I'm not so sure there wasn't a few tears shed because they wanted to be in the press box on the other side. So
just to give a location on this, the main press box is huge there along Columbia Avenue. And on the left side, the coaches sit, and on the right side, the coaches sit. And every once in a while, I would be closer to the visitors, guys, and they'd leave the door cracked. And I'm kind of glad that they got moved because football coaches in general once in a while have, and especially when they get excited, have a little bit of colorful language. And there have been a couple times where they were there and yelling and screaming enough, and some of their colorful language actually leaked onto the air. So we're good with that. Let them get away from us because you don't need that kind of FCC violation coming in during a Friday night football game. Hey, he's Tom Largus. Tom, where can you get tickets?
You can get tickets. Right now they're selling tickets at the main office at Munster High School. We are selling tickets at Largus Graphic Solutions, my printing company there on 45th. You just look the phone number up. You can call me and get a hold of me. If you can get a hold of me, I can get them to you. We are also selling them through Eventbrite. We've got some posters up in the area. We're going to get some posters, some additional ones up here in the next day or so. But we're really hoping to make it a wonderful night to celebrate what Leroy and Jamie have done for the community, for the town, for the school system. We're also trying to put something together where people that choose to can make or do something with the Ryan Marsh Foundation, which is something that Leroy and Jamie have done since they tragically lost their son Ryan back in, I believe it was 96. And they consistently will send special needs children here in Northwest Indiana down to Camp Riley. They'll help to fund that. This is a couple that, besides being a head football coach, has really, Jamie and Leroy have kind of set the standard of what it should truly all be about. And it's, quite frankly, it's not just all about wins and losses. It's about the character and the type of people that you develop and what type of individuals they become down the road. And they've certainly done a wonderful job of that, and I think we need to celebrate them as a school system, as a community, and as a lot of ex-players and coaches that have a very special feeling for them.
He's Tom Largus. Thanks for coming in, Tom.
Jim, thank you very much for your help, for having me on.
I'll be right back on the voice and face of the region.
Here in Indiana, the Trump tax cuts are already working. Hoosier businesses are hiring, raising wages, and giving employee bonuses. In Washington, Senator Joe Donnelly said this:
if they bring a good tax bill before me that helps middle-class families, count me in every time.
Listen to President Trump on Senator Donnelly.
Joe Donnelly voted no on tax cuts, and he voted no on canceling job-killing regulations, which may be even more important than those incredible tax cuts.
Donnelly voted no on tax reform, even though the average Indiana middle-class family will receive a tax cut of more than $2,000. It's time for Senator Donnelly to change course. Call Joe Donnelly at 202-224-4814. Tell him the Trump tax cuts are working and to vote yes on S-2687 to make our tax reforms permanent. Paid for by One Nation, www.onenationamerica.org.
Ironworkers Local 395, through their contractor employers, the Northwest Indiana Contractors Association, are the workers you see building Northwest Indiana. They are the craftsmen building your schools, hospitals, malls, steel mills, manufacturing plants. They support local charities, including Tradewinds and Chasing Dreams, and they coach your kids after work and on the weekend. They live, work, and contribute to all of our local communities' economic growth. To find out more about these organizations, visit ironworkers395.com or nwicontractors.org.
When you're in the dark, where do you turn to find a trusted professional who can assure the safety of your home or business electrical system? Certified Electrician is here to help. Looking for a highly skilled electrical contractor for your next construction project? CertifiedElectrician.com is where to find one. We connect you with pre-screened electrical professionals living right here in Northwest Indiana. Experts in residential, commercial, voice data video, and signage. Certified Electrician can fulfill all your electrical needs. Visit CertifiedElectrician.com.
Would you go to a doctor that isn't board certified? No, of course not. Then why would you trust in a lawyer that isn't board certified? If you've been injured in an accident and it's not your fault, get someone that's a board certified civil trial specialist by the National Board of Trial Advocacy. Get someone with over 20 years experience who's a member of the Best Lawyers of America and Indiana Super Lawyers and has achieved the highest possible peer review rating of AV by Martindale-Hubbell. Get Gladish. Attorney David Gladish in Highland and his team will deal with the insurance company and its attorneys while you put your life back together. Experience, ratings, and board certification really do matter. Get Gladish. For a free consultation, call 219-838-1900, 838-1900, or visit dgladishlaw.com. That's the letter D, Gladish law.com.
The Emerald Green at Lost Mars Restaurant is now under new management. Delicious food, beautiful ambiance, and a full bar with a 12-tower draft system featuring craft beers from the region, including 3 Floyds and 18th Street Brewery. Our spacious premier banquet facility is the perfect place to host your private event. We are open to the public 7 days a week, serving lunch and dinner. Open at 11 a.m. The Emerald Green at Lost Mars Restaurant is located at 1001 129th Street in Hammond. Call 219-228-2526 or see our website, emeraldgreen@lostmarsh.com. I'm William Hetzel with sports updates brought to you by Johnny's Tap. Yesterday in baseball in the Chesterton sectional, Chesterton demolished Maryville 17-0. In Game 2, Hobart edged Crown Point 1-0. In the Kankakee Valley sectional, Andrean easily took care of Kankakee Valley 15-1. In Game 2, Wheeler beat Hanover Central 11-5. In the Munster sectional, Highland squeezed past Lowell 6-5. In Game 2, Munster crushed East Chicago 15-0. In the Griffith sectional, Clark beat Gavitt 1-0. In Game 2, Hammond rolled over Calumet 16-5. In the Whiting sectional, Bishop Knoll shut out River Forest 16-0. And in Game 2, Roosevelt beat Lake Station 10-6. In softball, in the Maryville sectional, Chesterton beat Portage 9-2. In Game 2, Valpo shut out Michigan City 15-0. In the Whiting sectional, Whiting beat Lake Station 11-1. In Game 2, Andrean edged Bishop Knoll 6-4. And again, a reminder to tune into the Facebook Live tonight at 6:30 to check in on the Kankakee Valley Lake Central semifinal game. And then in girls tennis, Munster won regional after dropping Crown Point 5-0. And in the pro sports, the Cubs lost to the Indians again 1-0. The White Sox beat the Orioles 11-1. In the NBA Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers 96-83 to go up 3-2 in the series. And in the NHL, the Capitals beat the Lightning 4-0 to advance to the Stanley Cup Final. You can listen to the first game here Monday night at 7 p.m., and the Golden Knights will have the home ice advantage to start the series.
We have the Stanley Cup Finals?
Or final, yes.
Really? Kuziak, what? In to sponsor tonight? All right, Kuziak, we need a couple more. So anybody else wants to throw in $100 or something for the game tonight? We're going to do the games. We got to pay the fee, and then I got to pay all these guys out going out there. Other than that, I just got it comes out of our pocket here. If anybody wants to throw in 100, get a hold of Ryan at 219-844-1230. What was that about tickets? He wants to give 4 White Sox tickets for tonight. This afternoon, there's a White Sox game. Anybody wants to go? Kuziak will give his 4 tickets. And call here at 845-1100, and you can have the tickets if you're the first person who gets them. 219-845-1100. Thanks a lot, Will. Hey, let's take a look at traffic. 294 around the city is no picnic. Cicero up to the Stevenson. 80 going east and west looks pretty good. The Bishop Ford has been a little bit better now in the last 10 minutes than it has for most of the morning. Doesn't start really backing up until, say, 120th or so. Earlier, that was Dalton Avenue. So now the backup starts after the Steel Bridge, whereas before it was before the Steel Bridge, say 115th on into the southern end of the Dan Ryan. Once you get past 87th, though, it should move pretty well on the Dan Ryan. It's even a little bit lighter than normal going into the Jane Byrne interchange. Skyway, Toll Road, Barman, I-65 are all moving along pretty well. Beautiful weather, my friends, just beautiful. Just can't wait to get outside. Going to one way or another, I'm going to get my weed whacker started today and finish up mowing the lawn. And then Alexis and I are planting flowers tonight. Some amazing impatiens, begonias, and one other type that we got from Alsip Home and Nursery. And the amount of flowers is, I've known Rich for a while, so maybe there's just a little bit of a little bit less than the normal retail payment on them. So we really loaded up, and the Devo household is going to be pink and purple and red and even some whites on some of them in pretty short order. That should be done by hopefully by the weekend. Anyways, high of 83 today, plenty of sunshine. Tomorrow, high of 87, sunshine, very warm. And then Saturday, an afternoon shower, a thunderstorm, high of 87. By Sunday and Monday, also in the 80s and no real rain on the forecast. So Dr. Lauren Brown was wrong. I told you guys I saw Dr. Brown recently, and I'm like, what do you mean you work on Memorial Days? And he goes, it always rains. You ever remember Memorial Day when it doesn't rain? And I'm like, gosh, you're so right, except for this year. Beautiful high of 80 and some sun and not as warm. Hey, let's take a quick look at a couple of news stories, and they're all just nya. Mary Elgin showed up at federal court in her wheelchair, and she was sentenced at the age of 73 to 1 year in federal prison. And that was basically for using her office to conduct her campaign. Her son, Stephen, is also involved in this. The big one, the big loser in all of this is her secretary, Ethel Shelton. She's 72 years old. She was found guilty in a trial. A guy by the name of Alex Wheeler was actually found not guilty in that trial. So in other issues, the case of Jamal Washington was moved to Porter County. And a Porter County judge ruled yesterday that Jamal Washington did violate the terms of his probation when he was charged with an assortment of felonies and misdemeanors in December after he allegedly confined and battered a female relative in his Maryville home. Now, Washington, who is a Democrat out of the 3rd District here in Lake County, had 1 day of probation left to serve after pleading guilty to those things from a December 15th case of domestic battery. Porter Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Thode sentenced Washington to 18 days in Porter County Jail, but noted that he served 9 days in jail after his December arrest and released him from probation. Washington and his attorney, Darnell Lyles, said after the hearing in Thode's Portage courtroom that Thode's ruling bodes well for Washington's criminal trial in the fall. If anything, this case today has shown it is all circumstantial, Washington said, adding he is sure the coming trial will clear his name, that he believes the charges are politically motivated. I feel 100% confident it was a bad decision and a good decision in a bad spot, he added. And speaking of elected leaders in trouble with the law, or at least in the purview of the law right now, the trial of a former member of the East Chicago City Council accused of killing a man and drug trafficking charges was pushed to September. That is Robert Battles, and that's according to the Post-Tribune. If you're driving along the Borman right now and you don't live around here and you're listening, you're like, say, wait, one woman was put in jail, and another guy has all these charges of domestic battery, and he's going up against for another one. And then the other guy killed someone, they said, or maybe have, depending on his outcome of his trial. Like, what kind of area do you live in? We live in an area where it's really interesting. All right, guys, I'll be right back. This will end my JED in the region right now. Every couple of Thursdays, out of a scheduling snafu, we have the North Township Trustee Show that starts here on the other side. So on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, thanks for watching. We'll be on Facebook again in about 2 minutes. See ya.
With the weather finally starting to warm up, that also means ants and other bugs are